Hey, how's it going? My name is Gabby. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be starting on kind of a spontaneous reading vlog where I'm going to be reading one of my most anticipated horror books of the year. I decided to do this reading vlog kind of last minute because a few different things were just not going to plan for me at the end of October. I mean, I read about like 23 books within 23 days and I was starting to feel a little bit burnt out, and so I was just DNFing a lot of books left and right, and now I feel like I've gotten myself into a bit of a reading slump. And so I thought, what better way to try and get out of my reading slump than to try and read one of my most anticipated books of the year. This book actually publishes on Halloween, if you're wondering, but this morning, you know, me and my sister, we were out grocery shopping, we went to Winco, and while we were there, I was like, oh my gosh, maybe I'll just like see if Barnes & Noble has it a few days early, because, you know, Barnes & Noble always are putting out books usually like a week early or sometimes even more than a week early, and so I was like, okay, let's look, and on the website, it said that it was in stock, and so I called the Barnes & Noble and I was like, hey, it's showing that this book is in stock at your store. Is there any way I can put it on hold so that I can come and pick up a copy? And she's like, yeah, girl, I got you. Luckily, I was able to get it today, a few days early. And I'm so freaking excited for this book. I'm also excited because the publisher also sent me the copy of the audiobook a little while ago. So I do have the audiobook as well that I'm going to be listening to. I'm so confused though, because this book is only about 280 pages and then the audiobook is 13 hours. I'm like, how does that work? Like, what? Why is the audiobook so long? But this is one that I am really excited about. It's actually by Nat Cassidy, who's the same author as that book Mary. I don't know if you recognize that horror book that came out last year, but that was a horror book that I enjoyed, but I ended up having mixed feelings about it. It was around like a 3-star for me, I think. But this is one that I am so freaking excited about because the premise of this one just really intrigues me. This one says it has the creeping paranoia of Rosemary's Baby with the urban horror of Salem's Lot. Like, what the heck? I've been craving something like Salem's Lot for such a long time now. I don't know why. Ever since reading Salem's Lot a few years ago, I've just been trying to find something that'll give me that same feeling with like the eerie, creepy vampires. And so I don't know too much about this book. All I know is from the premise here when it says we're following a couple named Anna and Reed. It says the horrifically complicated birth of their first child has left Anna paralyzed, bitter, and struggling. And it says she's holding some resentment for her baby. The relationship isn't doing as good afterwards. And then it says that's about to change with the words any New Yorker would love to hear: affordable housing lottery. So it takes place in New York, which is so cool because we have the New York vibes, which is something that I usually look for in my books. But also, doesn't that premise already kind of sound like Lock Every Door by Riley Sager? Like, they want an apartment, or like they don't have to pay rent in one of the nicest apartments. Like, what's the catch? But then it says Reed dismisses disturbing events and Anna's deep unease and paranoia as the price of living in New York. People are odd, but he can't explain the needle-like bite marks on the baby. So like, I don't know what that means. I don't know what exactly is going on in this book. Is it vampires? I don't know. I mean, the way that it just talks about bite marks on the baby and then it compares it to Salem's Lot, like, I'm feeling like this is gonna be a vampire fun time. And because this book publishes on Halloween, technically, I mean, come on, like, these vibes are immaculate. I'm just so excited to see what this book has to offer. I did really like Nat Cassidy's writing in the book Mary, but my biggest complaint with that book was that it felt too long, because that book was just really long and drawn out. And so the fact that this book is only about 280 pages is something that really intrigues me. So anyways, I think I'm just gonna throw on my headphones and start listening to this. I did notice that this book is divided into a lot of different sections, like part 1, part 2, part 3. It seems like there's a lot of different parts of this book, so maybe I will just try and update you once I hit part 2 and give you my general feelings, and that'll be about 40 pages into the book. So I just wanted to do a quick update because I have just hit part 2 of the book, which puts me only about 43 pages in, so it's still very early. But there have already been a few different creepy scenes. I started tabbing the creepy scenes with the blue tabs, and I just decided that I'm annotating this book, so hopefully it goes well and it's something that I end up enjoying. I don't really understand how this housing lottery system works, or if that's like even a real thing that New York does, but in the beginning of this book, this couple is like looking at this apartment that they won. Like their name was drawn out of a lottery and they won the housing lottery to go and move into this apartment that's like super nice. And it was written in a way that was like really interesting because we not only got like the perspective or like the thoughts of, you know, the husband and the wife, but we also did get like a point of view moment from like the realtor or like the owner. Like I don't know if it was the owner of the building or like the person just showing them the apartment, and it was really creepy because they were like, oh, this family's perfect, and they showed me pictures of their baby and they have a baby, so they're perfect. And it was just like really creepy, like that whole part. The thing that sucks about them moving into this apartment is that this apartment is like on a very high floor, and she's actually in a wheelchair currently because she had, you know, when she had this baby, she had the worst like labor experience where she was paralyzed after the baby was born. And you know, now she's kind of dealing with a lot of resentment for the baby. She's dealing with a lot of like, you know, postpartum depression. It seems like there's being a lot of hints being dropped about like there was something violent that almost happened on this one night where she like almost snapped at their baby. Like I don't know the full details. I don't think we're supposed to know the full details of that night, but this couple keeps hinting at, they keep saying things like, oh, we're not going to talk about that night. We're not going to talk about what almost happened. And so I'm assuming, you know, something happened with her and this baby, but they decide to take the apartment anyways, you know, because like they won this apartment. They don't have to pay rent. Like it seems like a no-brainer for them. The thing that sucks about that though is that she's literally confined to a wheelchair right now, and you know, it's on such a high floor. It's just not necessarily the safest option for her. But I really do like the writing in this book so far. I'm already invested in these characters and I care about them as a couple, and I appreciate that they're feeling really fleshed out as characters because they're having those kind of real conversations, like checking in on each other to make sure that they're okay. I think he's being like a really good husband to her in the sense that he's, you know, making sure that this is something she really wants to do, and he's also like checking in on her mental health and making sure she's okay in those ways. Like I don't know, I just really like them as a couple so far. There was also just already like 2 creepy scenes that involved like the baby monitor and like thinking something's outside of the window. Like oh my gosh, it's just so creepy already. Like it's already setting up great vibes, so I'm invested. I can't wait to see where it goes. So far I'm really enjoying this, and it's like living up to all of my expectations that I had. So I think right now it's just a little bit after 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I think my sister and I are gonna start working on dinner. We want to make a homemade baked potato soup with bacon for like the first time. I don't think we've ever attempted to make a home recipe of like potato soup, because like potato soup is like one of my all-time favorite soups, and like my dad makes it a lot, like homemade potato soup for our family. We get a lot of like potato soup, you know, from like Panera Bread and like the store. Like I love potato soup, but I've never tried to actually make it at home before, like a homemade potato soup, so we're gonna do that. I think we might also make some grilled cheese with it because we got these nice like Gouda cheese from the store and sourdough, so I think we might try to make like fancy grilled cheese to go with the soup. But I do think later tonight I want to try to read up to part 3 in the book, which would put me around like 110 pages in. So I do want to try to read a little bit more of this before I go to bed tonight, and hey, you know, maybe reading this at night will make it feel even scarier. It is so freaking windy today. Like I don't know if you can hear it outside, but it is just a freaking windstorm, and it's so cold. Today when we went to the grocery store, it was only 43 degrees, which I know it doesn't sound that cold, but for Washington in October, like that's pretty cold. And I think the wind is making it feel a lot colder. This upcoming weekend, the lows on the weekend are already 27 degrees. Like, oh my god. And the highs on the weekend are like low 40s. And I'm like, dude, it's freezing. Like, it's almost time to like whip out the gloves, and like I have to start dressing in layers. Like, it's getting cold very fast here. But anyways, let's go start on dinner, and then I will read some more of this later and let you know my thoughts. Hello, it's a little bit after 11 o'clock at night now, but I did want to update because I just hit part 3 of Nestlings, which puts me at about page 112. Earlier tonight, me and my sister, we made the potato soup and it turned out so good. Like, it was so freaking delicious. Also, we made these grilled cheese sandwiches that had this smoked Gouda cheese on it with cheddar cheese that was like freshly just shredded. Oh my gosh, it was freaking delicious. And I ended up taking the leftover soup over to my parents' house because my dad has this thing with his teeth right now that he can only have soft foods right now. So we were like, okay, let's go take the soup over to mom and dad's house. And then of course we ended up staying over there for like 2 hours. We were just talking and catching up. Then shortly after I got home, I was just laying in bed reading and oh my gosh, I just read one of the creepiest scenes. And I'm glad that I saved that scene to like read at nighttime because oh my gosh, I was like reading the book and then looking up at my window just being like, it's so freaking creepy. It's so well written. I'm still loving it. The New York vibes are very strong, which I'm also really enjoying in this. I feel like what this book has to say about like postpartum depression and like how awful and like scary it can be and how isolating and lonely you can feel when you're going through something like that. I feel like this book is doing a really great job at showing the horrors of postpartum depression. I love one of the quotes that was, you know, specifically about postpartum depression is when the character said, "The books called it postpartum depression. Sure, how quaint and categorizable, how empirical. The lived reality, however, was something far more obscure, far more horrifying and disorienting. It didn't feel normal. It didn't feel diagnosable. It felt wrong. It felt unprecedented. No, it felt damning." And I don't know, I just think it's so well written, showing like the true horrors of postpartum depression. I also really loved this quote kind of about adulthood and kind of like the struggles and like the horror of adulthood as well. They said, "Adulthood was all about compromises, wasn't it? You decided what you need, what you want, and shift your priorities around until you find the least bad combination. Each compromise was a link in a chain, and if that chain dragged you down to the bottom of the East River, well, at least you had Netflix and Spotify to distract you while you sink." I was like, damn, that is straight facts right there. Like, that is great. I think it's interesting that most of this book is still being told mostly from the husband and wife's perspectives, but then every now and then we'll get the perspective of like another third-party character, and it always like throws me off at first because I'm always like, wait, who is this? Like, who are we following? And so those like chapters, there's only been a few of them, but those chapters like throw me off for a second, and I'm like, wait, what is happening? Like, and I have to go back a little bit because I'm like, wait, which character are we following right now? And so I guess my only thing would be I wish it was a little bit more clear, like at the start of the chapter, that we would put like whose point of view we're reading from, because sometimes it can be a little bit confusing if you're not like fully paying attention. But I'm really loving this so far. I'm loving the writing. I'm loving the like atmosphere. It's very mysterious and very spooky. I feel like whenever you read books that are kind of, you know, like this about vampires, you always want to sleep with the window shut, okay? Because if you've read Salem's Lot, then you fucking know. It's like the vampires in the window thing. Like, I don't know what it is. It's just so creepy and so weird. I mean, luckily tonight it's actually cold enough that I think I am actually gonna sleep with the window shut because it's like 30 something degrees outside already. It is so freaking freezing. Like, if you stand outside right now, you're gonna start shivering within a few seconds because of how cold it is. Like, I can't believe how cold it's getting in Washington so quickly. But it's honestly kind of perfect reading weather, you know, for this book right now. Like, it's just making me want to bundle up in bed and just get all cozy and read this creepy ass book. Tomorrow morning, I do have Patreon reading sprints scheduled tomorrow, but they're not going to be until noon. So I do have some time in the morning, but I definitely want to finish this during the Patreon sprints tomorrow, hopefully. And you know, because the Patreon sprints don't start until noon, I was thinking maybe I would do something crazy and like try to go to the gym in the morning, because I've been trying to go to the gym more often, and lately I've really enjoyed going to the gym just to go on the treadmill for like an hour. I find it really relaxing to like either listen to an audiobook or listen to music or listen to a podcast or something like that just while I'm walking on the treadmill. It feels a lot more like low stakes, because usually in my mind I'm like, oh, I don't want to go to the gym because then I have to like, you know, work up a sweat and like do like cardio, and I don't know, I feel like every time I go to the gym I have to be doing like insane cardio or like some insane workout. But lately, like the last 2 times that I went to the gym, I only went to the gym just to walk on the treadmill for an hour. You know, I put that speed up to like 3 and I just kind of like power walk for an hour. It's really nice. I mean, I definitely still work up a sweat and I feel like I'm getting a workout in, but it feels a little bit more low stakes, which is just something that I'm looking for right now, I guess. So I think I might try to do that tomorrow morning. Good morning, it is the next day and I just got back from the gym. I had actually a really productive morning this morning. I was able to go to the gym, and while I was at the gym, I was able to walk on the treadmill for about 30 to 35 minutes, and since I was just walking on the treadmill, I was like, I should take a book, you know, and like listen to an audiobook while I'm walking on the treadmill. And so I was gonna, you know, listen to this on audio while I was on the treadmill, but I was like, I want to be like actively like annotating, you know, and like taking notes in this and putting tabs in this while I'm reading it. So I didn't think it would be the ideal thing to be reading while at the gym. So instead, I brought Natural Beauty because I actually just got this audiobook checked out from my library this morning, and I was like, oh my god, perfect. Like, I've been wanting to read this book for so long, and the audiobook is only 8 hours, so I thought this would be like a really quick read. And just while at the gym this morning, I was able to get 80 pages into this one, and I'm already really loving it, like loving it so freaking much. And in this story, we're following this girl who, I don't even know if we know her name, because even on the back of this book, it says our narrator. So like, I don't know if we're supposed to know her name, but it says we follow this woman who's a young musician, and she used to play piano like very, very well, like almost to the point where she could be doing it professionally basically. But now she's getting into this like elite beauty obsessed world. She's like working for this company that's called Holistic, and it says they're known for their remarkable products and procedures. She's becoming obsessed with the world of this like beauty and like how everybody is just really obsessed with like their skincare and their routines. And I don't know, the writing is really interesting so far. I love that we're following an Asian protagonist and she's kind of talking about the struggles of like having parents who are immigrants. I love too that this is taking place in New York as well. Like, I didn't intend to be reading two books at the same time that take place in New York, but here we are. And also on the day that 1989 comes out, like as I'm filming this right now, tonight, 1989 will be dropping tonight. And so the fact that I'm reading some New York books today, this just feels right. But what I'm really liking about Natural Beauty so far is not just like the writing itself. Like, I think the writing itself is very engaging and very easy to get into and just really beautifully written, but I'm also just really liking the characters in this book. Like, I do really like the protagonist, and it's really interesting because it seems like this book might be sapphic as well, or like she's starting to like have this weird friendship with a girl that's starting to feel like more than just friendship. On the back here it says she becomes transfixed by Helen, the niece of Holistic's charismatic owner, and the two strike up a friendship that hazily veers into more. So like, oh! I wasn't expecting the like sapphic elements of this, and I know that this book is being categorized as a horror book on Goodreads, and so I'm really curious to see where the horror elements of this book really comes in, because I mean, for right now it's just feeling kind of like atmospheric, kind of like moody, weird. I don't know, it's reminding me a lot of my other favorite books, so I'm really loving this one so far, like so much to the point where this feels like it could also be a 5-star new favorite. So the fact that I went from being in a rating slump potentially to starting on 2 different books that feel like they have 5-star energy, like I think that's absolutely incredible. Anyways, I'm doing some reading sprints on my Patreon right now. I just started the first hour-long sprint so that I can go and take a shower because I feel gross from the gym, and then hopefully I can get started on the Nestlings and maybe even potentially try to finish this today because I'm loving it so much. So let's get to it. Hi, it's like 4:30 in the afternoon and I just finished Nestlings and I've been sitting here crying. Why am I crying? Oh my gosh. So this author at the end of this book, he includes this author's note, and he just talks about a lot of the things that he's, you know, gone through recently, and oh my god, it hit me so hard. Like, I just started crying. I don't know why. It was just really sad. And he kind of talks about like what inspired this book and the things that he's gone through and like what he was going through essentially while writing some of this book, and it was just it just got to my heart. And especially like there was also like the final page of this book. I was not expecting for it to make me emotional. Like, I don't know, I don't think this author intended for the ending of this book to be emotional. I don't think that was the intention, but like it was just and I loved this so much. This was definitely an easy 5 stars. I do wish that I had updated you earlier because, you know, I've just been reading this all afternoon while I was on Patreon reading sprints. There was like a moment while I was reading this book where I was eating, like it was like the 1 second I was just eating a donut, and I read the most like vile, disgusting scene. It involved vomit. Okay, like vomiting is one of my biggest like in horror books. I hate it. I hate reading about vomit, especially when it's like very descriptive. And of course I read the most like descriptive, disgusting vomit scene like right as I was eating my donut, and I was just like, oh my god. But like this book was just so well written. It was so creepy. Like the freaking visuals in this book, are you kidding me? This has got to be one of my favorite kind of like vampire-ish horror that I've ever read. You know, it's crazy because earlier this year, I would have said that I don't really care for vampire horror. You know, like I did like Salem's Lot, and like there have been a few that I've liked here and there, but for the most part, I would have said earlier this year that like, yeah, vampire horror is okay, but it's not like a top tier favorite subgenre of horror for me. But I feel like after this month, I mean earlier this month, if you recall, I read the book Night's Edge, and that one ended up becoming one of my freaking favorites of the year too, and that one was another horror book. And now this one just comes out of left field and is probably like one of my top favorites of the year now. Like, what the heck? So it seems like I actually am a lot more into vampire horror than I originally thought. I just think this book is so powerful, you know, because it's not just like vampire horror. It's a lot more deep than that. I love that this book points out the real life horror that is postpartum depression and like being a parent and like having your own children, and like what does it really mean to be a mother? What does it really mean to make decisions on behalf of this other little human? The amount of times that I wrote in the sidelines like, ew, gross, what the fuck, disgusting, like so many times, because there were so many scenes, especially towards the end. Like this book really ramps it up in those last 100 pages, like oh my god. I love though the pacing of this book. It feels like such a slow burn, because I love that for the first like about 200 pages or so, it's kind of a slow burn. There's not a lot happening, but I like that this author keeps you invested. You know, the writing is really great, it has great atmosphere, and it just keeps things building until the ending is just absolute fucking chaos. I also love, which this is weird to say because this book has a lot of interludes in it, you know, which are kind of like little stories that are in between the parts of the book. And usually I'm not a huge fan of interludes. In fact, I would almost say most of the time I argue that like a lot of horror books, the interludes feel totally pointless and you could just like skip them, and I just don't usually like the interludes in horror books. But in this one, I loved the interludes. Like they were some of my favorite moments of the book, and that just surprised me because usually I'm just such like not a fan of them that I was expecting to not like them, but I loved the interludes in this. I think I especially love this because I was invested in the characters and their situation. I love that this book reminded me of so many other books that I love. I mean, Lock Every Door is one that definitely comes to mind because of the like creepy New York apartment vibes, but I also just really appreciate the message about parenting in this book and how difficult it can be to be a parent, but also specifically with like motherhood and dealing with postpartum depression. I wasn't expecting those themes to hit me as hard as they did because, you know, I'm not a parent obviously, and so I didn't think it would hit me as hard as it did, but it was really beautiful and just so well done. Because in the author's note, he was talking a lot about like different grief and like things that he's gone through, and the way that he worded it was just so goddamn beautiful. One part of the acknowledgements in the, you know, author's note at the end that I really love is when he said, grief is the space between two states of being, who you were and who you are. It's an excruciatingly long, unlit hallway, a staircase you have to crawl down, one interminable flight at a time. Like, it's just so beautiful, and like that's just from the fucking acknowledgments. Like, that's not even part of the actual book. I just love this. I loved everything about it. This is like my ideal kind of horror book. It has the perfect amount of dread and like disturbing like content. Like, this is really gross. Like, at parts of this book it is so disgusting and so gross, but like it's exactly the kind of weird shit that I tend to like in my horror books. And like, gosh, I could go on all day. I loved this so much. Like, this is definitely gonna be in my top 10 of the year, if not my top 5. Like, I don't know. I think before I end this vlog, I would like to read more of Natural Beauty and be able to update you on my thoughts with this book as well, because this is another book that I'm feeling like it could have potential to be a new favorite 5-star of mine. So I do feel like I should, you know, try to finish this one up before the end of this vlog. You know, as I mentioned, tonight, I'm not going to be reading anymore tonight, because tonight, 1989 Taylor's version is coming out. I'm actually filming an entire video that's going to be like a reaction with my sister that's going to be going up on my Patreon this weekend. Whoa, whoa. Say I didn't warn ya. Yes. All you had to do was wish you were and turn to screams. We're all bored. Dude, this is Lover. So good. This Taylor is salty. Hello, how's it going? I just wanted to take a moment to update you because I have been reading Natural Beauty this morning. You know, somehow I found it in me to put 1989 on pause for now, and I've been getting back into the audiobook. Like, I don't know how I've had this amount of self-control because I'm really obsessed with the 1989 vault tracks. Last night, me and my sister, you know, recorded our entire reaction, and then I was up until 1 in the morning editing our reaction to get it ready to post to Patreon today. It just finally finished uploading and like processing on Patreon, so I just got that posted at like 2 o'clock this afternoon, which was awesome. And I am just like, I love that album so much. I love the vault tracks so freaking much. Like, this might actually be my favorite vault tracks. I was debating last night, you know, because I was like, I really loved Electric Touch and I Can See You, but then I also really loved Nothing New and I Bet You Think About Me. Like, there has been such solid music coming out of some of these vault tracks. But it's crazy because after my first listen of the vault tracks, I thought Slut was my #1 favorite, and it still might be. Like, Slut was just so unexpected. Sound-wise, I was thinking it would be a lot more like Reputation, like aggressive sounding, but it's actually more like Lover vibes, and it's so soft and so sweet, and it's such a beautiful romance song, and it's so wholesome. And then I also thought that Now That We Don't Talk might be my favorite because it has the most like sassy, moody vibe to it that it just really feels like 1989 vibes to me. But I don't know, now that it's been almost 24 hours since the album came out, now I'm thinking that Say Don't Go might actually be my #1 favorite vault track, which is crazy because on a first listen, I didn't even really care for this song that much. I just thought the chorus sounded very like disjointed, and like the song flowed in a kind of awkward way because I thought the chorus was like very loud and aggressive, and then the verses were like really slow. Like, I don't know, something about it just didn't really work for me on the first few listens. But the more I listen to it, the more I'm just like getting obsessed with it. I'm obsessed with the way her voice sounds when she says, I would stay forever if you, like the way, she just, her voice is so good in that song. And then Suburban Legends is also like so much fun. It reminds me so much of Midnights. Like, that song sounds like Bejeweled meets Mastermind. And then Is It Over Now is also just really great. Like, that song has really great lyrics. She's so sassy in it. I love it so much. So let me know what your favorite new 1989 vault track is if you've listened to them, like, because I don't know which one's my favorite at this point. Like, I honestly love all 5 of these songs so much. I ended up going to the library because I had to pick up some library holds. I just got the video game for Five Nights at Freddy's, which I'm excited about because that movie is coming out this weekend actually, and I wanted to kind of like see the video game because the video game looks like super creepy, so I wanted to get it for the Switch, and it's perfect timing that I got it right now because I was thinking it would be fun to like bring it over to my parents' house on Halloween, and if it's like a creepy game we can like play it together. I don't know, we'll see how it is, but I'm also excited to see that movie Five Nights at Freddy's. I think we want to try to watch that at some point this weekend. But yeah, I picked up my library holds and then I decided to go to Starbucks and like, you know, just get my little chai pumpkin drink because I was like, it's 1989 day, it's time to celebrate. But anyways, I wanted to update you because after getting home from Starbucks, I've just been sitting in my room listening to Natural Beauty, and I'm now 190 pages into this, and this book has just been so wild and weird. I've been putting a lot of tabs in this book for a lot of different things, like for some scenes that I thought were really just kind of creepy in general. There was one scene with deer that was like so creepy, so I really enjoyed that. I also love, there was this one quote that I feel like really captures the entire vibe of this book because it says, natural beauty doesn't exist here, it's created, so why not ethnicity? Because I feel like this book is having really great discussions about, you know, race, because this girl is Asian and she's working for a company that is just very whitewashed. It's also very interesting to, you know, follow this beauty company who like, they care so much about beauty and about youth and about looking young forever. And the way that this character is going to extreme lengths to try and fit in with this group of people is just really fascinating to me. There was another quote that I really loved when she said, maybe youth, I think to myself, is also something only the privileged can afford. There's just so many great quotes like that that are about kind of like beauty and kind of related to youth that I just think are really powerful. I love this quote too. It took a long time for me to understand that only people who have had nothing feel the need to keep everything. So the writing itself is pretty beautiful so far. I'm really enjoying the writing, and there has also been some very grotesque, disturbing, like body horror, like things happening to these people's bodies. They're trying to do anything they can to stay young, right? Like these women will literally do whatever they can to make their skin look flawless and to make themselves look younger. And I feel like this is obviously such great commentary on our society and the obsession we have with like looking as young as humanly possible. So I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I think it's really great. It's really unique. I don't know if I've ever read anything quite like this. I mean, I did earlier this month, you know, I just DNF'd the book Rouge by Mona Awad, and it's definitely reminding me a little bit of that, at least with the way that these characters are obsessed with like youth and beauty. It has like a similar vibe, but so far I've been preferring this writing style a lot more than the one in Rouge. So like, I don't know, I'm having a great time. Tonight, my sister and I are actually going to be going back to the movie theater to watch the Taylor Swift Eras concert in theaters again. This will be my 3rd time going to see it, but we wanted to go again tonight because it's 1989 release day and it's a celebration day, and we just wanted to have like a full Taylor Swift weekend. So that's what we're planning to do tonight, which I'm so excited about. And so I figured I would take you along with us as we go and do that. And then later tonight when I get home, I'm hoping to finish up Natural Beauty, and I will update you with thoughts once I'm done. Look at all these birds! Like they know it's freaking 1989 day. We're just sitting here watching the sunset while we eat. Like, how romantic. This is so romantic. In a McDonald's parking lot, listening to Shake It Off. McDonald's is great, okay? This is top tier dinner. It looks like all the vinyls are gone. Look at how cute! Oh, got the goods. I think I'm gonna get the regular one, and we're just gonna get a different one. Like, this stand is so cute. Oh my gosh, we found another stand, and this one has this. This is so cute. And this stand actually has...
This is $39.99.
$30.99?
$39.99.
$39.99?
Yes.
Oh shit. Yeah, she's a little pricey for now. I think we're gonna put that back. We're gonna get these.
This is only $13. I should get all of them.
I know. Just
I really want this one too.
I know, I really want the yellow. Yellow's so cute. I really do like that pink one though. That one's cute.
Well, good, because we're getting it.
Yeah, we have to get these two.
Oh, I'm gonna cry, I'm literally crying.
Does anyone here know the lyrics to this bridge?
think I cried so many times again. Like, again. I was crying during Anti-Hero. What's wrong with me?
I know, because in my head, I kept being like,
but you're my hero. I'm just so proud of her, and I just love it so much.
wow,
It was so great. You know, it's like fucking freezing out here. You can see my, whoa. You can see my breath on camera. That's so, it's cold. It's probably like 30 fucking degrees right now. Hello, I am back home from such an amazing night. Oh my god, we had such a great time. Went to Target, we got the goods, which I'm kind of surprised these don't have the Polaroids in them. For some reason, I was seeing on Instagram that some of the, I guess it's the vinyls that come with the Polaroids, and I was really excited about the Polaroids, but neither of these have the Polaroids in them. And then, you know, after we were at Target, we went to the movie theater and we saw the Eras tour again, which was so much fun. It was both me and my sister's third time going, and it was so fun because the girls behind us, they were like, oh my god, it's our 5th time going. And we were like, wow. And everybody in our crowd at that theater was just like so into it. Like you could just tell everybody was singing and like vibing and dancing and having a great time. It was so much fun. Like I just love going to see this Eras concert in theaters because I love like seeing other Swifties out in the wild just like living their best lives and having so much fun together. But I did want to let you know that I have finished Natural Beauty, and I cannot believe, dude, the ending of this book. There is so much disgusting and descriptive body horror in this book that really just had me like, oh, some scenes were just grossing me out so bad. Like the visuals that this author was giving on certain things, I was like, oh my gosh. But it's wild to me because there were so many things at the end of this book that I didn't see coming, and there were a few scenes that had my mouth, like my jaw just like hanging open in shock because for some reason I did not predict any of the crazy shenanigans that happened at the end of the story, and I was overwhelmed by all of the things. It's like once you realize kind of certain things that are actually happening, it is horrifying. It is so horrifying because I feel like for me the horror elements of this book, they were very subtle at first, you know, almost to the point where I was like, wow, this feels like more, you know, literary horror. Like I don't really know if it's going in a certain direction, and they took it there. I was like, holy shit. Like the ending definitely ramps up on the horror for me, which is what I really love in books like this. Like I love a good slow burn, kind of like weird, gross, like body horror type of stuff, and then boom, like a really solid ending. And so I'm so excited that I had 2 really great books back to back because, you know, right before this, as I was saying, I was kind of in a little bit of a reading slump and I wasn't sure how things were going for me. And then I just read 2 books back to back that I might give 5 stars. I mean, this one might be closer to like a 4.5, maybe if we're being a little technical, but the fact that I just had a 5-star and then a 4.5 star, like that's amazing. That never happens for me these days. So like very iconic, and I've just had such a great weekend in general with like 1989 coming out. I mean, I'm sure that 1989 and those vault tracks are going to put me right back in a reading slump because, you know, if you're a fellow Swiftie, you know, it's like when Taylor Swift drops a new album, it like ruins my audiobook game because that's all I want to listen to is Taylor's new music, and then I just fall into a reading slump. Like it happens every single time she drops an album. I've just come to accept this. Thank you so much for hanging out and for watching this reading vlog. I would love to know if you've read Nestlings or Natural Beauty, or if you plan to read either of these. I would love to know any of your thoughts down below in the comments. Thank you all so much for watching as always, and I will see you very soon with another video. Bye.